Hey there! Today I'm going to be talking about this ink, De Atramentis Dokumententinte Blau. This was contributed by Thomas. Thomas aus Deutschland. Thank you a lot. He gave me a bunch of bottles of ink. Fantastic. De Atramentis Dokumententinte Blau. Very cool ink. Very intense color. This is not the glass. This is actually the ink. I find it very fascinating inks. This is their blue. He also gave me dark blue as well as turquoise from the same line of document inks. Very fascinating, very quick drying. Maybe not the most sparkling colors, although the turquoise is actually quite nice, but fascinating. I think that's all I can say about it. Let's have a look at how the ink performs. How about that? I hope that's going to be useful, and I'll see you in a minute. Bye bye. Alright guys, here we go with De Atramentis document, aka Dokument Tinte Blau, document blue. Let's start with some fine writing. The first thing I notice is that even in this fine nib, the ink is very legible. I suppose that is one of the points, goals of a document ink that can be used in a professional setting, but it is nice to see that it actually works out. Medium, very intense blue. Something I really like is the fact that the ink dries extremely quickly. I'm going to show you that in a second with the triple pass test. But you can see it. I mean, this is a very wet pen. This is very low absorbent paper, and the ink is now dry. We've just been talking for a few seconds, and you get that drying. So I guess I already showed it now instead of with the 3 passes. Something else that is a side effect of this, I really shouldn't try writing and talking at the same time. I know that the word dog is missing, but I don't want to waste a line of the paper there. You notice that the color changes as the ink dries. If you just keep your eye on there. You see there's a difference between dry and wet. I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up. But there definitely is a difference. Okay, now my moment of fright, the flex writing. Well, how about that? For the first time in quite a while, we seem to be getting good flow during the flexi writing. Fascinating bit of trivia. This is Rhodia, quite resistant to feathering, and yet I see feathering in the flex writing sample quite clearly. Just something I'd like to point out right now. Okay, zoom out just a... Oops, come on. Okay, sorry, I didn't want to make you nauseous or anything. Let us do a couple of passes. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3. Look at that stunningly intense blue, and look how it fades as it dries. Look at it wet, and then look at it dry. And now it's pretty much gone. So it's a very fast drying ink. 1, 2, 3, it's already dry. On Rhodia paper with a 6mm wet nib. Very impressive. Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose we might as well, before I forget again, might as well do the second pass and then later the third pass. As you can see, again, second pass, very fast drying ink. It's already dry. Very impressive. Third pass. I'm very interested in how much bleed through this will give. If it's already feathering, I wonder how that will work. Okay, so I think we need to do a bit of fat writing there. Let's use the letter D. D for document. There should only be one of these things, but I'd like to add a second one. After all, you only live once, may as well make fun of it. Get some use out of it. What do we got here? We have a document ink. Now something I'm most interested in here is the waterproofness. Now we know it's fast drying, that's cool. It will be nice in an office setting. Now I want to see how well this does on a in water ways. Okay, now I think we can try and have a look at that moment you've all been waiting for. Let me just open up that bottle, the Tardif test. Dip it in the ink bottle. Last week I could get no ink on the sword, now I have way too much. There we go, see, it's already drying. Amazing! I've really been emphasizing that aspect, but I don't think I've ever seen an ink that dries this quickly. Which means that a round benchmark will be interesting too, considering how fast it dried. Let me just wipe off my finger a bit there. It's immediately going to get in. And now let us use the bastard brush. I'm checking whether there is water on here. There is. Wow. That is impressive. There is no discoloration. I'm going to use more water. No discoloration. Nothing happens. The writing remains completely legible. I am extremely impressed here. This is iron gold quality. Alright, then let's... I know what's going to happen now. Nothing. Let's do the eyedropper of death. This really does absolutely nothing. The ink remains on the paper, no problems whatsoever. So the question that arises is, what is the trade-off? Because there is no such thing as a free lunch. So there must be something, and I've got the feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of feathering on the cheaper paper in a second. Let's first do our scorecard. Cleaning, well, look at this. Look at this converter. You see that? You see that the air bubble right up there? Plastic is discolored. I'm not sure whether it's permanent. I've just inked this up. But considering how waterproof this is, this ink is going to score low on cleaning. And also because I see some discoloration, which may well be temporary. You can always put a little bleach in some water, that's going to work, but even so. Bleed through, what it says later. We have the color. Color is a dark blue. Then we have shading. Well, to be honest, I don't really see a whole lot of shading. It is a blue, and there may be just a little bit, but overall I find it a fairly consistent non-shader, so that's going to be lowest marks. For that, then we have flow. Well, in all honesty, the flow is excellent, no problems whatsoever. Feathering we'll assess later. And then there is drying time. Well, that is definitely full marks. And then we have waterproofness. which is full marks too. I can't wait to see this ink and see how it performs on cheap Copier paper. Let me first get rid of some of the excess ink there. I am just using a piece of blotting paper. That means some of the ink is going to mix there. Just grab a towel. There's ink on there too, my ink cloth. But still, okay, now we have this. Let's remove that. Let's grab the Copier paper. Let's put that on there. And let's see what we can do. Let's start with some fine writing. Sorry, I had to align the paper there. Fine. The quick brown fox jumped over the document. Medium. No feathering in the fine. Very wet medium. I really have to work on my cues. They look like G's. On this absorbent paper the writing is dry pretty much the moment it's written. Quite impressive. Broad. 1, 2, dry. See that 2-second drying time in a super wet nib. I mean, you've seen that on Rhodia paper too, but I find this very impressive. Maybe that's because I don't use a whole lot of fast drying inks, but it's definitely cool. 1, 2, 3, dry. What did I do with the cap of this? Oh, there we go. Then we have an italic nib. Lovely pen, italics, Parsons Essential, very good flow, very nice, smooth nib. Okay, my nightmare, flex writing on the cheap Copier paper. The past few episodes this was fairly traumatic. Lazy dogs on documents. Flow keeps up very well. Look at this, look at this, look at this. No railroading, no skipping. Beautiful ink, excellent flow. Fantastic. Very impressed. And then we have fat writing. Angle of the nib wasn't entirely correct there for foundational, but that's entirely acceptable. This is still a free country. I can do whatever I like. Now, this feathering is way better than I expected. I was expecting something terrible here, but even in that really wet, broad nib, look at that. I don't see any feathering. Italic, nothing. You see it a bit in the feathering in the flex nib, but I think the last ink I did had way worse feathering there, so I'm really impressed. And in this writing, there's no feathering at all, and this is a bloody 6mm wet nib, Copier paper. That's my thumb. I'm impressed. Okay, so we need to finish up the scorecard, and we need to do a comparison with another ink. Let's do the scorecard first. So we've got bleed through. Well, bleed through is not pronounced at all. There is some show through or shade through, but this is not bleed through at all. Not in the broad, not in the italic. There is some in the flex, but hey, who does flex writing on Copier paper? So that's good. And on the Rhodia paper, there is serious bleed through with the Tardif test, 6mm writing, brown benchmark, 3 passes. There is some with the flex writing, but with the normal writing, no bleed through whatsoever. And to be honest, I think that warrants full marks on bleed through, because I mean this is all excessive stuff. For normal writing, seems to be no problem whatsoever. Feathering, to be honest, I find that full marks too. I mean, to just feather with a flex nib on Copier paper, not even in a very wet broad nib, I think that's quite impressive. That means the inkage score we have here is 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Quite impressive. Okay, comparison ink. I found it a little hard to find. I don't have that many blues. I found it a little bit hard to come up with a comparison ink, so what I have here is, this is the one we've been looking at, De Atramentis Document. I'm just going to write down document if you don't mind. Do a little bit of loop-de-loops and then some sampling of the color. The one ink I came up with was Parker Quink, because that is also a fast drying ink. It is definitely not the same. De Atramentis, of course not. This is, well, okay, this is De Parker, whatever. Quink Blue, which also dries quickly, but as you can see, not nearly as quickly as the De Atramentis ink. I've just dropped some ink there. Oh, now I've yeah, that was brilliant. I tried to do another brown benchmark, and now I got a brown shotgun scatter shot benchmark. Here we got this. This ink is bluer, I would say, more of a stereotypical blue. I just couldn't come up with something. I guess a blue-black would have been a better comparison. I'm sorry, I screwed up. Please send all your complaints to seehowmuchwecare@fbgeeks.com. I tried to come up with a good ink. I failed. I'm sorry. I'll resign. This is the last Inkcyclopedia entry ever. Go away. No, not really. I'm just kidding. A blue-black. That diamine denim might be a better one. Although I don't know how fast that dries. But yeah, this is not the greatest comparison. That's alright. We all make mistakes. That's how we learn. This is the Inkcyclopedia entry for De Atramentis Dokument Tinte Blau. Thomas, herzlich Dank. Ich bedanke mich, das ist sehr schön, schöne Tinte. Sehr schön, würde ich sehr viel benutzen. Einfach super. Danke. And that was it. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.